What is up, bros? We Josh here, and welcome to our mini-series for captain builds in World of Warships. As you all know, in 8.0, the captain skills were changed due to the CV rework, and that did affect normal captain builds throughout the entirety of the game. In 8.0, you were able to get free captain respecs, so I thought I'd make a quick little video over each nation and each class when it has to do with captain builds. Hope this video helps you out and gives you an idea of what to build your captain around now that you have the free captain respecs. Throughout all of these videos, I will not be including the legendary modules because so few people actually have them. These are going to be basic builds that will work for most players. Obviously, some of the legendary modules will change up the playstyle a little bit, but these are just basic builds for the majority of players that they can build off and then tweak them a tad over time towards their playstyle. So I will mention some of the legendary modules, however, I will not make builds around the actual legendary modules. In this video, we'll be going over the Royal Navy and all of the lines within its tech tree and the captain builds that I recommend. In order, we will be going over the battleships first, followed by the cruisers, then the destroyers, as well as the difference in captain builds in the tier 9 and 10 compared to the tier 8 and under, as well as CVE captain builds that just came out in 8.2. God save the Queen, because we have the Royal Navy battleships. Now, again, bouncing over to the actual armory, you can look over and pick up either Jack or Bert. I believe the only one available through this is Bert. I think you get Jack through one of the collections. But the buffs to both of the brothers are Jack of all trades, expert marksmanship, and smoke screen expert. So these are a nice little one, more towards the cruisers than anything, but you will have the ability to use expert marksmanship on the battleships. So here's the captain build I'm running for the Royal Navy battleships. As you see right here, we're taking preventative maintenance. We don't want to lose our guns. Those are our money makers, and that will get us the most damage out. Expert marksmanship, getting our guns on target as fast as possible is fantastic. Don't worry, boo, I see you, adrenaline rush. After that, it's kind of weird. Normal battleships take basic survivability first, but I think you're going to want to pick up that extra heal. That heal for this line is what makes this line. This heal can do so much healing, it is so worth it. So picking up this is fantastic, even though it only gives you a heal. Considering the IGN battleships and the Montana, the USN battleships, I talked about not really it being worth it there. This is 100% worth it here, because if you remember, looking at both of the Royal Navy destroyer or the Navy heals, the heal is big. Almost 2,000 healing, of course, that I believe that is with the flag as well. That's a 20k boost right there. That is definitely worth it. You want to get that extra heal because you can Frankenstein become the zombie ship that this line is known for. Concealment expert is fantastic. You are stealthy. You will be using that stealth, so go ahead and grab it and abuse it. After that, basic survivability for a little bit of support. You will be taking return fire, so basic survivability is still nice. Definitely worth picking up. Fire prevention, not so much for me. I just don't see it on this line. You are very stealthy, and you will be using that stealth. After that, adrenaline rush is fantastic. Now, one of the ones you're looking at, you're going, I wonder what else the 4-point. Is he going to pick up a 4-point captain skill? What's he going to do? AFT? Well, one of the things about this line is, yes, it has a second type of ammo, and that is AP. Holy smokes, it's a battleship. Conqueror, obviously known in this line, obviously known for its HE, but you will be shooting AP in a lot of situations if you are playing it correctly. This is a great skill to have for this line particularly. So expert loader does have a lot of weight when it comes to this line. Having the ability to switch quickly to AP and getting that salvo out will really help you potentially dev strike a ship that you would have only done maybe 12 or 13k in HE. That's still not bad, eh? But switching over between salvos, you could potentially do a huge hit when it comes to the battleships being broadside, and it sucks to have HE loaded and then just kind of rip out a decent salvo of HE where you could have really punished something broadside. Expert loader, this is kind of like the only line I run it on, is a really good pickup for Royal Navy battleships. After that, just being nice and safe and picking up BFT is not terrible. BFT is going to help you against all the planes in the sky. It'll buff up your AA and definitely pick it. You maybe could run like an AA build here. To me, it just doesn't quite see it. Conqueror has a decent amount of AA anyway, so buffing it up too much just doesn't quite seem worth it, where you can get other stuff elsewhere that'll help you out doing more damage and just be cheaper in the long process. One of the only lines I don't take fire prevention on, I just don't see the points for it and just don't really see the need for it. Royal Navy cruisers, in my opinion, one of the most fun lines in this game. And also with, as you see, I have Burt Dunkirk, so this is going to be a line where this could potentially get some value out of these captains. It's kind of hard to use all of these on any of the lines, and again, you'll maybe see one of them being used here. But a pretty basic, this is kind of just an oversized destroyer, although you don't need last stand. So priority target, take an adrenaline rush, taking Superintendent. Again, this gains a lot of love even starting at tier 5 because it gives you that smoke charge. Smoke charge, the actual hydroacoustic is fantastic, and then picking up the heals as well is nice. So this gets a lot of value very early compared to, let's say, some of the other cruiser lines where the heals come late in the line. Like the Russian line, remember we talked about that one? That one loses a lot of value. This one is fantastic early. So Superintendent is almost a must at tier 5. Picking up Concealment Expert as soon as you can. Battleships and cruisers are scary when you're playing this line, so you don't want them to see you, so you're going to disappear into your smoke, and they're going to have to come towards you. After that, this is something that I build around AA. The Minotaur is known for shredding planes, as is the Neptune, as can the other lines. This is something that's mainly focused towards the high end of this. So picking up BFT as a first captain skill, once you pick up the original 10, is not a bad idea. This is just going to help you shred more planes early and help you out with not getting dropped in your smoke. One thing I love to grab at tier 9 at the Neptune is manual fire control. Buff up that AA. One thing you can do is sit in your smoke and other things will spot the planes for you. You're going to be this anti-AA platform that CVs are going to have to deal with and go around you or feed you tons of XP and tons of plane kills. Especially as a Minotaur, this is fantastic because you're so stealthy. You can get into spots that really make it hell for CVs, and you can embrace this. The thing about AFT is nice. It does give the boost, but it's only based around the actual flak explosions. So I like this a tad more, this combo, than picking up AFT. Back in the day, AFT was decent on the Neptune because it helped reach the actual AA. The Minotaur was nice too, but it didn't have as big of an impact. Now it's something you can kind of pass up. So this is fantastic to pick up here. Now we have 2 remaining points, and there are 3 things that are highlighted for the captain. Jack of all trades, expert marksmanship, and smoke expert. So these are all kind of nice. They're all kind of tempting. But one thing about it is you don't need expert marksmanship. The turrets turn plenty fast. Throughout this line, the turrets aren't really that slow at all, and the Minotaurs are basically the speed of destroyers. So you don't need expert marksmanship. So cross an X over that. And after that, it's kind of up to what you want to do. I actually like smoke screen expert, especially if you're playing more in divisions. It gives you a big area of smoke. It's kind of nice to have just more area. You can hide more ships in there. This is just kind of a quality of life thing, but the standard one I would go with is the boosted Jack of all trades. Main thing being is you have lots of things that you want to use, and one of the things you're really going to try to do is get the time that your smoke is on cooldown as short as possible. Because what you're going to end up doing with this line is getting into a position, popping smoke, doing a bunch of damage, and then waiting till your smoke is off cooldown, and then do it again after that. So what you want to do is limit the amount of time you're waiting for your smoke to be off of cooldown, because you want to set up that smoke again and then start pumping out damage. So that is something why Jack of all trades will assist in that, and that's what you want to do. A rule with a lot of these builds is find out what the line is good at and then buff around that. So this is a fantastic build for this line. Again, one thing you can do kind of holding off is maybe grabbing these early, and then hold off and pick up the AFT or the manual AA and BFT. I'd pick up BFT first and then manual AA last, so you can grab these other ones, which will help you in the lower tiers a tad more, and then these ones are going to be for higher tier ships. So stuff like this is going to help you throughout the line. Obviously, Superintendent is fantastic. Then once you get through, picking up BFT and manual AA last. Royal Navy destroyers. Now this is one of the newest lines in the game, and I'm actually going to show you 2 builds when it comes to this line. There are only one thing that's different, and I'm going to kind of explain why. But as you go on through this tech tree, you see that they're all destroyers. They're all kind of normal. There's no split, but there are a difference in caliber of gun when you get to tier 9 and tier 10. These are kind of their own little things that are different than the rest. And one thing I'm talking about is the caliber of gun. The caliber of gun, both for the Daring at 113 millimeters, Jutland at 113 millimeters. One thing that's different is you go over to the Lightning, which has 120, Cossack as well, 120. Jervis, again, it's the same kind of thing throughout this entire line. So the rest of the line has this 120 millimeter, and then the Jutland and the Daring have this smaller caliber. So it is very similar to the line of the IJN gunboat line, where it's a small caliber gun, so you need inertia fuse to actually make it work. So first, we'll talk about the lower tier one. This is going to be tier 8 and lower, and we'll just look at my Cossack Captain really fast. Another 19 point. And what you're going to do, surprise, surprise. I know, this is basically the same thing I'm going to run all the time. So, but here you go. Priority target, last stand, survivability expert, and concealment. Picking up that radio location at 14 points. And this is something that you can kind of look at yourself and see what you want. Now, the radio location, or sorry, the Royal Navy DD line has a long duration, short range sonar. As we went over with the German destroyer line, it has a kind of a shorter duration, long range. These ones last, as the Germans lasted for 2 minutes. This one lasts for 3, but it's only 3 kilometers. So this line is known for being a quote unquote defensive line. So you are going to be kind of defending yourself with this. So one of the things you can actually do if you look at this is see that Superintendent is going to give you extra sonar and a 7th smoke. So one thing you can kind of do is say, well, okay, I don't need that 7th smoke. I don't need that 4th booster. Is the hydroacoustic, that 4th charge, worth it? I like to have it. I use them very early and very often, so I will almost use my hydroacoustic every game. I'll use them almost all the time, but it's hard for me to use all of my smokes every game. So one thing I could see here is picking up basic firing training. I do not see that being that hard of a trade right there, but you are a gunboat with torps as well. Or I guess you're kind of a hybrid, I would say. So I did it again. Survivability expert is kind of needed. So this is something I could see a trade right here. Superintendent 3 points for the basic firing training. This is something I could see a trade right here. This is what I like though. And then of course, picking up Adrenaline Rush is fantastic. The Dunkirk brothers, doesn't really matter. You're not going to be using either one of these. I just don't see the points to switch out. They're much better elsewhere. But a very basic point. Again, this is going to be tier 8 and lower for this line, as well as the tier 8 premium Cossack. Now, switching over to the tier 9 and tier 10 captain that you will be using this, you're going to require a captain retrain because you want to pick up something else, which is inertia fuse. So one thing that this does happen, and you can kind of see the basic of the other line, is again, priority target, last stand, survivability expert, I said it right, and then concealment expert. One of the things you're going to want to pick up with this line is inertia fuse. That's again only at tier 9 and tier 10. So it's a bit of a bummer that you get through this line leveling up this captain and you grab inertia fuse. Now, one thing that you can just do early is pick up inertia fuse at 14 or whatever you want to do and pick up radio location later. I do run survivability expert, god dang it. I do run inertia fuse on I think on my alt account on this captain just because I only have the one 19-point captain. So it's not the worst thing in the world. Just the 120s have enough pen to do a lot of damage against other stuff. It breaks one of the thresholds. I think it's 25 millimeters or whatever it is. These just don't have that, so you'll just get a ton of shatters with your HE. So you need that extra boost for that smaller caliber. So the 120s have enough to get through the tier 8 and lower. The Jutland and the Daring just don't have enough, so they need that inertia fuse love. It's not like it's going to be a complete waste of points for the lower tier ones. It's just they need them at the higher tiers for sure. So at 14 points, if you are making a new Jutland or Daring captain, pick up inertia fuse. It's needed basically. And then from there, you can kind of backfill. I still love a radio location. As you see, we don't have Superintendent here, so I can't get that extra boost. But I do love radio location still with this line. Again, you are defensive. You are a relatively slow destroyer, so things that are pushing you or running away, you want to have as much of an advantage as you can, since it's hard for you to run away since you're slower, and it's hard to chase them. So if you can maybe cut them off, that's a really good idea. But with this awkward 3-4 points right here, you have this awkward 1 point, but it's not really that bad because preventative maintenance, just like Adrenaline Rush, is nice to have whenever you can. Not losing guns or torpedoes is fantastic. But as you see right here, we can't take Adrenaline Rush. I just don't see the points here. Radio location, though, I just love. Again, if you drop this, you could easily pick up Superintendent, drop Preventive Maintenance, and take Adrenaline Rush. It would look kind of normal, except you would just be the normal Destroyer build, except you'd switch out Radio location for Inertia Fuse. I like all 3 of these tier 4s, so it's kind of nice for me. But that's my 2 builds for the Royal Navy Destroyers. Even though these just came out with this patch, I don't have the Audacious yet, and I don't have a 19-point captain yet, but it's a CV, so the Royal Navy CVs, I'm going to take the USN captain and just kind of use that, because for the actual build, I would end up using the same thing. One thing about this is you aren't going to get any benefits out of the Dunkirk brothers, so there's no need to grab them. But again, it's going to be the same build for the Royal Navy as I would use on the other IGN and USN captain lines. I just don't have a 19-point captain ready yet, since these just dropped with this patch. So eventually I'll get one, but it's going to end up being the same thing anyway. So again, the pretty standard build. Again, I am not a meta pusher when it comes to CVs, so there may be a little bit of a min-maxing difference here. I just think this is a very safe and secure build that can't really go wrong. And I think for most players, this will be very beneficial to you, to just being able to survive a tad more in that nasty AA and just pump out a tad more damage. So for me, the first point, I'm picking up engine boost time, so 10% here. And then, of course, picking up torpedo acceleration. Torpedo acceleration is really nice for CVs. It limits the total range of your torps, but it increases the speed. So actually knocking out those ships that are maybe in a turn, preparing for the turn, you can get there a tad quicker. 5 knots doesn't seem like a lot, but it does add up. Now picking up Survivor, I did it again, Superintendent. HP per plane per squad is really nice. So making your planes just a tad more tanky when it comes through that. Having that bigger health pool is really nice. Sight stabilization, especially when learning the class, is fantastic, but just having it is really nice. Being as precise as possible, getting in and out of that flak, and using that speed boost is going to make it a tad hard to kind of get that close, but sight stabilization is fantastic. Again, at 13, picking up the aircraft armor, making your planes tanky, and getting in and surviving that flak in AA, as I talked about earlier. So aircraft armor and these are a fantastic way to kind of boost up your plane's survivability. Demo expert is awesome to have. Lighting more fires is what this line does. So getting that and bumping up that chance is actually really nice, and 3 points is definitely worth it. The improved engine, 2.5% on the speed, really, really nice. And then again, picking up whatever ones you don't pick here, the other one. So this one for here, air supremacy, restoration time, getting more planes out quicker is what the CVs want. So again, I just don't have a Royal Navy 19-point CVE captain yet. I will eventually get one. So obviously this is my USN captain, but we're showing it off for the Royal Navy CVs, which just dropped today, and getting up through the Audacious, the tier 10. Well, that's it for the Royal Navy and all of the recommended captain builds I have for each one of the lines within its tech tree. In the end, it is 100% up to you and your playstyle on whether you pick my builds or your builds. That's 100% fine, but hopefully this video was enlightening to you and hopefully showing you the ups and downs of each captain skill for each line. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.